Welcome to The Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on The Kindness Project, we talk about Roman baths, flirting, and we have a first part of the interview with Kuldip from the London Community Credit Union.
Welcome to The Kindness Project.
Yes.
Yes. I'm joined by a girl who is the property of no one. At least that's what a t-shirt says. It's Charlotte Daems.
And I'm joined by a man who's so old-fashioned he flirts people from the first century.
Right, now, can we just get over this? That woman wasn't from the first century. She was only... I knew you were going to bring that up. She was only pretending to be from the first century.
She was pretending to be from the first century.
She was actually... not that old. She was probably about 85. Can I just tell the story? So we were in Bath over the weekend. Beautiful city of Bath. The first time I've been there, and we went to the Roman baths.
Yes.
And there was an actress who was pretending to be a Roman lady who said, "Oh, you've got lovely legs. I'd like to see you in a tunic." Is that a fair reflection
You
of what she
flirted
said?
back.
What do you mean? What do you mean I flirted back?
You flirted back.
I didn't.
You agreed to wear a tunic to her vibe.
Look, when a Roman lady asks you to wear a tunic, the polite thing to do is say, "No problem, I'll wear a tunic."
I'll wear a tunic, show off my knees.
Show off my knees. And it's not the only time I've been flirted with this week. So the weird thing is, Sam Lynn, apparently it's 21. We've got a Facebook Live viewer who is watching from Future Ventura, and apparently it's 21 degrees and sunshine, which in Raynham it's about -4 and darkness. So I don't know who's got the better end of the deal here.
We have.
We have.
I like the dark.
Can I tell you about my other flirting experience? It probably wasn't flirting, but I'll explain it anyway. So we're now recording the podcast and doing them on Facebook Live, aren't we? And that seems to be going down quite well.
Yeah, we've only got 3 watchers.
Yeah, I know, but people jump in and out and enjoy it. So one of the things that one of the things.
Oh, I know where this is going now.
One of the things that happened to us the day after is. I walked into my office and the lady who runs the nursery that shares our office pulled me up and said, "I was watching you in bed this morning." I said, "Pardon?" I went, "I was watching you in bed this morning," and I thought, I genuinely didn't know what she meant, and I went, "Excuse me?" She went, "Your podcast recording." Now the weird thing is, I'm not friends with her on Facebook, so I genuinely don't know how she gets to watch The Kindness Project live if she's not a friend of mine on Facebook.
Not a clue.
Is she stalking me, Charlotte? Should I be afraid?
You're fine.
Should I move the office?
You're fine. You're fine. You're going to be fine. Don't go breaking down on me now, mate.
No, I won't.
Don't leave me.
I'm not going.
Oh, you've got cold hands.
I promise I'm not going anywhere. So, how's your week been?
Not bad. It's only Monday. It's Monday.
How was last week?
Last week was okay.
Okay. Best thing that happened about last week? I mean, clearly my best thing is I got flirted at by a 2,000-year-old woman. What was your best thing? Dunno. Pretty average week?
Pretty average week.
Can you let our listeners know, as the conversation is so
drying up a
scintillating?
little bit, and you search Ola Kindness, our magical...
With a H.
Our magical...
as opposed to just
Twitter
Ola.
page. Our magical Twitter page will pop up. And then if you do the same thing on Facebook, our magical Facebook page will pop up.
Yeah, so Facebook Livers, our podcast has got a Facebook page.
Yes.
You can find it if you just put The Kindness Project in the search bar. You'll be able to find it. Or you can find it just by putting Holla, H-O-L-A Kindness in the Facebook bar. So you can do all of that sort of stuff.
Or you can email us at ola@thekindnessproject.co.uk.
With a H.
.co.uk, or how did you get to the website again?
www.thekindnessproject.co.uk.
That's the one.
How about merch? Should we talk about merch?
How are we connecting to that? Because I don't know that.
I think, well, Russell apparently is on our Facebook Live. So, Russ, if you could give us the connection to the website we need to to promote the merch, that'd be good. But we have got Facebook t-shirts.
We've got Kindness Project t-shirts.
We've got Kindness Project t-shirts.
Hoodies.
Hoodies. Kindness Project pants. Kindness Project. What?
Oh, we've got phone cases, we've got hoodies, we've got polos, we've got workout shirts.
Kindness Project bras. No?
No.
I thought we were going for the underwear, Kindness Project underwear.
No.
Or did we shelve that idea?
We shelved it because it's a bit too close to home.
Close to home? Is that what you call it? Home? What's that? Anyway, it's gone Carry On Kindness Project all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on. So, we have got loads and loads and loads of stuff you can buy, and anything you buy, hopefully next time we do a Facebook Live, our polo shirt and t-shirt would have come, and we can come kit it out into I haven't done it yet, into the Kindness Project merch. But for now, you can buy them whenever you need to. So, should we move on to? Have you got a jingle for this?
Question of the podcast.
Woo!
Woo!
I didn't realise the woo came with that.
Well, the woo always comes.
This week's question of the podcast is... Russ was doing the Twitter, so you can find us on Twitter. So this week's question of the podcast is, if you could try out any job or any occupation just for the day, what would you try?
Maybe... I don't know. What would you be?
Well, you know what? I'd give a go. Fighter pilot. Genuinely. There was a thing on the news this morning about a machine that can send you into G-force whilst you're...
I've seen that.
So it was one of those things that sort of rotate, that simulates G-force, but you can actually train as a fighter pilot while you're in it. And I'd love to give one of those a go.
I don't know, I'd quite like to do, deep sea diving.
Would you?
Like,
Where would you go?
Ooh, coral reefs.
I thought you were going to say Dagenham swimming pool, but is that...
That's not deep enough for me.
Is it not deep enough? All right, Stratford swimming pool. How about that? Where would you dive?
Pakenham.
Where's that place you said the other day? Gillingham, wasn't it? Chippenham. So Charlotte and I were having a conversation the other day, and for some reason you mentioned Chippenham.
There was on the news and they had snow, and I was like, Chippenham is just around the corner, I won't be able to go to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's 2 hours away.
Chippenham, it's just down the road, and it turns out it was 3 hours, 20 minutes down the road. But weirdly, we went to Chippenham accidentally over the weekend without realising that we were going to go there.
And there was a lot of snow.
There was a lot of snow in Chippenham.
I don't see why.
Yeah, a lot more snow than there was in Rainham.
Chippenham, Rainham, what's the difference?
One's got a chip on its shoulder, and one, it rains all the time.
It's very true, it does rain here a lot.
It does.
It does rain.
So, listeners and Facebook Livers, if you'd like to answer the question of the podcast, if you could try out any other job or occupation for the day, what would you choose? Shall we move on to Kindness News?
Let's.
Okay, cool. Welcome back to the Kindness Project. We're now going to do, would you like to do the jingle?
Kindness News.
Kindness News.
Sorry.
That was a bit of a... what edition?
Is it veteran edition this time?
It's war. Oh.
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Apart from a bit of Kindness News. So, I'll read the first one. War veteran Harold... I'd love to be a Harold. I would genuinely... Harold's a great name, isn't it? Mm. Harold, this guy's name is Harold Percival. War veteran Harold Percival, mourned by strangers after online appeal. In 2013, RAF war veteran Harold Jellicoe, he's got some amazing names, this guy. Harold, and then Jellicoe, and then Percival, passed away at the age of 99 in a nursing home. Mr. Percival never married, didn't have any children, and didn't have any relatives who were able to attend the funeral ceremony. An appeal was put out in a local newspaper for people to attend the service in honour of the veteran who served during the Second World War. More than 200 people turned up to pay their respects to Mr. Percival after the appeal went viral on social media. Love that. That shows that actually...
Mr. Percy.
Yeah, Mr. Harold Percival is an amazing guy. And then the next one is an American one. Veteran to veteran kindness. Midland family receives free Christmas lights. Oh, this could be in veteran and Christmas edition, couldn't it? Ooh. Do you want to read this one?
Okay. A veteran and his family in Midland are enjoying a slightly brighter Christmas season thanks to the kindness of another former service member. That's after the local seasonal company Light Up the Permian Basin held a free giveaway for a Christmas lights package open to any family of a veteran or first responder.
Love it.
Marco Barano, a 15-year veteran of the US Air Force, won the Facebook contest. Barano lives on Stanolin.
This is intentionally confusing, isn't it? Stanolin Avenue in Midland and surprised his children with a Christmas display. His oldest son Joseph recounted the experience for him.
When I first...
Can you do a Joseph sounding voice?
When I first saw them, they were really cool because I didn't know what we were going to...
No. That's an Alan sounding voice. Can you do a Joseph sounding voice?
See, Alan and Joseph sound very similar.
No, they don't.
Yes,
they don't. Alan's lower pitch. Joseph sounds Mexican.
Sorry, that's a bit offensive. When I first saw them, they were really cool.
Doesn't sound like Joseph at all.
Well, we'll leave Joseph out of this for now. I didn't know we were getting Christmas lights, and then after I knew who did them, I really appreciated it. Bruno says he hopes the kindness...
Who said that? Who just said that?
It was Joseph.
That definitely wasn't Joseph. I know what Joseph
Bruno
says
like. He hopes the kindness granted him to light up the Permian Basin will help others to reflect on the sacrifice that our first responders and veterans make during the holidays. You just think about, especially during the holidays, all the men and women that are deployed and first responders that are out on the streets protecting us while we're celebrating, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely something that we should consider. And the next piece of kindness news is people are really good. World War II veteran. I know how to say the word veteran.
Yeah, a veteran.
Yeah,
it's a Navy vet.
It's like you... yeah, he's a veteran. Somebody who's a wet veteran. So somebody in the Navy. Yeah, makes sense. People are really good. World War II wet veteran. Wife surprised when stranger pays for groceries. On the last day of 2018, Chuck and Ruth Klein said they normally wouldn't shop for groceries in the middle of the afternoon, but because the Lower Paxton Township couple had to purchase some items for a friend's funeral, they stopped at Giant on Eaglestown, Lingelstown Road in the Sussequan. Why are we picking American news stories? They've always got weird names in. The World War II veteran said he and his wife were standing in the checkout line when a pretty young lady allowed them to go ahead in front of her. And if that wasn't kind enough, he said, she also paid for their groceries. So I like this idea. I like the idea of just randomly buying somebody's shopping. I like that idea. Have you ever done that?
I'm broke as all hell.
Oh. I tell you what, should we have a musical interlude in the podcast? What was that? A bit of Lucy Spraggan involved. We really are senior citizens, 84-year-old Ruth said. And when we got to the car, I realised I didn't get her name. And Chuck, he realised that he didn't get her name either. Chuck said they went to formally thank the mystery woman who noticed his US Navy ring he was wearing. He is a wet veteran. He's a wet veteran. He's a veteran. We just lost one of our friends and the funeral is tomorrow. So I wouldn't have been in Giant such a busy time, Ruth said. Chuck said he estimates the bill was $50 and he added that he doesn't know what compelled the mystery giver to pay for him. Could be the time of year, the season, and she's a very kind, giving person, the 91-year-old said. or the fact that her husband serves in the Navy. Her husband might also be a wet veteran. Also, the fact that we are elderly. My wife uses a cane and she was struggling when she stands any length of time. All that together shows what type of wonderful person she is. Mm-hmm. And that is amazing work. Thank you, woman, for helping the Navy veteran or the veteran. We really appreciate it. And that's it for Kindness News this week. We'll see you next time. For this week's Story of Kindness, we're doing another interview. Now, this interview is with a guy called Kuldip Bajwa, who works for the London Community Credit Union. And what they do is they help out with loans. So they help out people who can't get loans from conventional lenders, or where loans are too expensive. They all pull together and help these people out to lend money at relatively low interest rates so people can get out of debt and support the local community. And they also run a sort of community bank account as well where people can support that. So Kuldip was a really interesting guy. You actually sat in on this interview, didn't you? Do you remember?
Which one was this?
Can't you remember Kuldip?
Well, I've only been in 2 in the space of the last...
No, you've been in 3, darling.
I've been in 3?
You've been in 3. And we definitely interviewed Kuldip. Should we listen to the interview?
Yes, I do remember this one. Yeah, I do.
Okay, should we listen to it?
Yeah, let's listen to it.
Hi, Kuldip. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Yep.
And we've got another person involved in the interview today. It's only a second one. It's Charlotte.
Woo!
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So I met Kuldip at an event a few weeks ago. It was at the it was Tracy and Kirsten's event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the East London Community Foundation.
How do you know those guys?
They got in touch. We work in similar areas across East London, and we both sort of do similar things. Well, they work with a lot of community groups. We are a sort of community non-profit organisation. Yeah. And so I hooked up with them and met you.
Cool. It's all good. And actually just... It's really interesting. And do you do any work with them, or how does it work?
We haven't. That was the first time I went along to one of those events. Yeah. But we hope to do something together in the future. It's
just about building connections, isn't it? And building the relationships at that point in time. Okay, cool. So you're probably going to do what you do and who you are more justice than I am. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I'm Kuldip Bajwa. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager at London Community Credit Union. Okay. Where I've been for about a year. My background's in the voluntary sector. I've worked with charities and community groups in Kensington and Chelsea for about 8 or 9 years previously, providing advice, information, training to equip smaller groups, smaller community organisations, make sure they can go out and make a difference. And I've been with the credit union for a year. In fact, it's a year this week.
Oh, happy anniversary! It's not birthday, is it? It's my anniversary.
It's not birthday. It's a job birthday.
And how did
if they get me a cake on it?
Will you expect a cake now? I mean, now you've said it.
Let's hope no one sings.
And how did you get into the charity sector?
By accident, really. Okay. I did various administrative roles many years ago, and just sort of did it, progress from there. Really.
Yeah. Well, did you go to uni, or did you?
I went to uni. I dropped out of uni.
Okay.
And did all sorts of jobs. And many years ago, I worked in catering, all sorts of customer service in central London. Okay. But I really enjoyed the charity sector. And sort of where I've always looked to sort of work over the last
few years.
Each now
and in terms of what you really enjoy about the community, the charity sector, what really floats your boat? What do you get up in the morning and think, you know what, this is good?
I like the fact that we make a difference. Particularly in my last role, for example, it wasn't just what we did as an organisation. We were an umbrella organisation for all the small community groups or the local charities. And seeing the work that they do was really inspiring.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it's similar to what we had this conversation with Tracy, where actually being that empower of smaller groups to make a difference on the ground is quite powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of good work that goes on that you don't see.
Yeah.
Very close, but just seeing some of the people who volunteer their own time, put in their own resources, it's great. And if I could support them in any way, I would do.
The interesting thing, Kuldip, and it's one of the things that we've realised since doing the Kindness Project, is you don't realise how much good stuff goes on, right? There's plenty of people giving away, giving their time and their effort and their energy
and their money,
and their money to help support their communities and stuff like that. Yeah, we've seen quite a lot of that, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
So tell me a little bit about the London Community Credit Union.
Well, London Community Credit Union is a provider of sort of financial services, banking services, savings, loans, current accounts, and we operate across parts of East London, East London, North London.
Okay.
And
so what's your remit geographically?
Geographically, we work across 7 boroughs.
Okay.
Put me on the spot. It's Tower Hamlets, Hackney, Newham, Islington, Waltham Forest, Haringey, and the City of...
Oh, so that weren't bad, was it? That weren't bad.
For an on-the-spot job, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But we started off as Tower Hamlets Credit Union in 2000, and we've expanded out.
Has that been expansion through amalgamation of other credit unions? Is that how that's worked?
We were invited to spread into Hackney by the local council. Their credit union had folded, and then we merged with Newham, New Cred, 3 years ago. Okay. So we now have sort of bases in 3 boroughs.
And you've got sort of a base in 3 boroughs, but cover 7. Are there sort of credit unions in the south of London? And
there are plenty of credit unions, and so there are credit unions sort of working in central London, and sort of out here in Essex. But a credit union has to have a common bond, which means all its members has to have something in in common. For us, that's the location. It's a geographical location, and a lot of credit unions are sort of location based. But you do get credit unions in workplaces as well. Okay. So, for example, the armed forces have a credit union.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the police force have a credit union, and larger organisations. So,
in specific sectors, there'll be industry or job specific. Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
No, me neither.
As long as there's something that ties those people together.
Well, apart from geography and occupation, is there any other sort of ties that bind people when it comes to credit unions?
That are based on sort of faith groups, because credit unions are quite common in some parts of the world, but not so much here in the UK. Okay. And what they are is when people come together and pool their savings, and they save a little each month, and out of that pool they can then sort of lend and make small loans. And so people don't sort of have to go to high interest lenders. And the idea was brought over here in the 50s. I think it was the 50s by immigrants from the Caribbean. Credit unions are a lot more common.
Really, I didn't know that. Right.
But they're definitely growing here in Britain. In the last 20 years, they've grown a lot.
Okay, really interesting. So it may be around faith, it may be around a job, or it may be around location, and that works really well. And how many people use your services? Because I looked at your accounts, and it's not an insubstantial amount, is it?
No, it's not. We've got over 16,500 active members currently. Since we opened our doors in 2000 Tower Hamlets, we've probably serviced about over 40,000 people. Okay. But people do sort of come and go, and that's partly because people move in and out of the area, and so when they move out, they no longer need our services. But also for some people who struggle to open an account in a mainstream bank, we're a stepping stone.
Gotcha.
So, build a bit of financial history with us, and then they can access.
So that supports their credit score, right? If they've got an account with you, it's a stepping stone to get an account with the bank.
Yes, definitely. So if people borrow a small amount from us and pay it back, it's it will reflect well on them.
In terms of the split, so there's 16,000 members.
Yeah.
How many borrow and how many lend?
Well, they all save with us. That's
Okay.
the sort of common criteria to open an account. You have to sort of save, and we look for a regular commitment to saving.
Okay.
Because that's our sort of main goal, is to help people become more sort of
financially independent.
We lend quite a lot. We probably lend about 7 million a year.
Okay.
And to 16,500 people, considering they're generally smaller loans, that's quite a lot of money. And so we probably make about 3,000 or 4,000 loans a year.
Okay, that's a decent amount. Are some of those loans repeat loans? So they tend to be short term and then paid back, and then somebody asks for money again?
Quite often, yes.
Yeah.
Some people come back to us year on year to borrow for Christmas, for example. In the run up to Christmas, get to the sort of second half of the year and they realise they haven't quite saved enough.
Gotcha.
And so they'll top up money they've saved. So Christmas is always a busy period for us. Holidays as well.
Gotcha.
We do try and encourage people to save towards those things. So, for example, we have special savings accounts for Christmas, a Christmas savings club, where we lock people's money away until October.
And then it comes out just in time. That date seems to be getting earlier every year, right? I've told you. You know, do you hope to start opening it in August, just as the Christmas songs start in the shop?
Especially in our house though, because Mum starts Christmas shopping after Christmas ends.
Best time to do it.
Yeah, she likes to start really early. Yeah, and Cassie's a bit of a planner on that, isn't she?
Yes.
So my wife's a bit of a planner on that, because she'll turn around and go, right, what are we doing next year? So we're planning. In our house, it's funny because we've got Charlotte's birthday, we've got Sophie's birthday, then we've got Christmas, and we've got Cassie's birthday. Charlotte's mum's birthday, all within a month. So it's a really
roughly a month. I think it's a little bit more
just
than a
over.
month.
Yeah, but
it's a month and 2 days.
It's quite a busy time, isn't it?
Yes.
It was the other way around. We have Christmas, and then I've got 3 sisters, and my mother all in January.
Really? So after you've done the Christmas spend, and where do you think the credit union sits? There's loads of options for credit, right? From your high street banks to your payday lenders to everything in the middle. Where does a credit union sit alongside all those other credit options?
Well, we're probably in the middle.
Okay.
In the sense that we're not a fully fledged bank. We don't provide all the services you can get on the from a high street bank. But we're certainly not a high interest lender. We're not a payday lender. And for a lot of people who do struggle to open accounts with sort of mainstream banks, because they might not have a passport, they might not have a driving license, they struggle to sort of prove the right ID, or they might have moved around a lot and not have a sort of fixed address. We work with people who come out of homeless hostels. We work with ex-offenders, so people who haven't got a fixed address. We can be a bit more lenient because we take time to get to know the person as well.
How does that building, developing relationship work? How does that? Is that based on them opening an account, and then how does that development of that relationship manifest itself?
The relationship's really important to us. It's sort of key because we really want to get to know the person. And so, for example, we won't just lend money to somebody based on their credit score or something like that. Or even if somebody's had bad debt in the past, we won't automatically exclude them from credit. We'll look into their circumstances and get to know them. So if people are struggling to prove their identity, we can afford to be a little more lenient. And we will accept letters of recommendation, for example.
Gotcha. I understand that.
They've been in sort of sheltered housing or anything like that.
Okay, fair enough. And so it sits somewhere in the middle, but you're not a profit-making organisation, right?
Well, we're a non-profit organisation in the sense that that's not our ultimate goal.
Okay.
But we're a mutual member-led organisation. We're owned by our members. And so if we do make any money at the end of the year, we can decide to award ourselves a dividend payment. And that's in place of interest on savings.
It's really interesting because my first ever job was with the Mutual. So it was with the Woolwich. Do you remember the Woolwich Building Society? And we've seen mutual organisations in financial services become rarer and rarer and rarer over the years. When I joined the Woolwich 2 years after, it demutualised, then immediately got bought by Barclays, which had a different ethos, a different culture, a different way of doing things. I think there's now just a handful of sort of mutuals in the market. I mean, in our space, I think Royal London's mutual, but a big one. It's interesting when you look at the culture of mutual compared to the culture of a organisation that's got to make profit for shareholders, right? I think the way they make decisions can be a lot different.
That's right. I mean, we're always trying to reach more people in the sense that we want to expand our services, but we also want to make sure that we serve our members well.
Yeah.
Provide them with the best service possible, and those are sort of our two primary motivations. Members are very important to us in the sense that because they own the organisation, they have a say. So we're governed by a board of members, volunteer members, who give them time to provide a strategic lead to the organisation.
Excellent. You've talked about the areas you cover. Are there geographically? Are there any plans to expand that?
Well, we're not going to expand geographically.
Okay.
So there are credit unions in different areas, and if anyone's sort of interested in joining the credit union, you can find your local one online. There's a great website called findyourcreditunion.co.uk.
Okay.
And you can just put in your postcode and it'll tell you what credit unions.
We'll put that on the show notes as well, so if anybody needs access to a credit union, they can have a look at that. Yeah. And in terms of knowing what a credit union does. So if somebody's listening to the podcast, sitting at home going, right, I'm not sure where I fit. Do I go to a bank? Do I go to a payday, or can I get support in the middle? Why would they come to a credit union as opposed to look at other sources of credit?
Like I said, a lot of people come to us because they struggle to access mainstream financial services.
Yeah.
Even people who can open a bank account with a mainstream bank might realise that they won't be able to get credit because the sort of credit checks are very strict and they're automated. They're done by a computer who will sort of say yes or no.
Computer says no.
Whereas we are very much person-centred in the sense that we like to get to know our members and understand their circumstances. So if somebody approached us for a loan, bad credit in the past, we won't automatically say no. We'll look at, if they can afford it, their income, their outgoings.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because, as you say, people who have had tough times in their life, like homelessness, like getting into trouble, sometimes need that additional support, not at extortionate rates that the payday lenders want to charge. And where do they find it? It sounds like a credit union might be an opportunity for them to get back on their feet.
We pride ourselves on being sort of ethical, and we won't lend money to people if it's going to get them into more trouble. It's going to build up more debt. So we'll try and work with them and try and make sure that if we do lend, it's a step towards becoming more financially safe than the other way around.
And I've noticed on the website that you do work with employers. Help me understand the work you do with employers and how that fits into the services of the credit union.
Well, for a lot of people, it's very hard to save when you get your wages and you've got lots of different commuting things, bills, social life and so on. And people find it easier to save if money can be deducted at source.
Okay.
So we work with employers to help their employees save by deducting money directly from their salary.
Fine.
They'll say how much they want to put away each month, and the employer will pay that to us. And that makes it easy to develop a habit and put away money without really noticing it. And then you notice a few months down the line that you've sort of built up a nice little nest there.
Well, it's really interesting. I think you're right when it comes to that. The more invisible you can make savings, the better, right? Because it habitually, you're never going to get to the end of the month and go, oh yeah, I'm going to save that £100 a month. But you will at the start. You'll miss it less at the end if you just put it away. So certainly that absolutely makes sense. And is that employers within your geographical remit?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And we work with a number of large employers. We work with the local council. councils in Hackney, Tower Hamlets and Newham.
Yeah.
We work with some NHS staff, hospitals and housing associations, but also smaller community organisations. Because I think employers are increasingly realising that sort of financial health is part of sort of general health and well-being.
Absolutely.
People do get stressed and concerned about money worries, and it plays on your mind and it affects you at work.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really interesting statistics about that, but it's based on a US study, but certainly more people worry about money at work than any other thing, including the work, which always seemed a bit strange to me. But if you've got that underlying concern of not being financially capable, then that's going to underwrite everything you worry about, right?
Yeah, so when you have money worries, I think it impacts on everything, because it never goes away. You can't really sort of forget about it.
Yeah. Well, you can, but it just, it'll definitely keep them coming back.
Well, I mean, the scheme we run's quite easy for employers. Like, we do all the work in a sense, and they just have to sign up.
It's done through payroll, or is it done through?
It's done through payroll, so we will sign up their employees as members, and they will just tell us how much they want deducted. And once a month, the employer will take that out of their pay and pay it to us in a lump sum.
Okay, fine.
So there's no cost to the employer.
Certainly.
It does help the employees.
Yeah. And why do people tend to come to you to lend and not use the alternative options?
Well,
so I'm talking about savings with you that you then lend out to.
Well, people borrow from us because you might see great rates advertised from the high street banks. The type of people who we work with mostly wouldn't be able to access credit at those rates.
Yes.
And so they're not the high street banks are not necessarily any cheaper. So they'll come to us, and the alternative is payday lending. It's high street.
And how do the interest rates compare?
Our interest rates range from sort of 36% for sort of short-term small loans up down to 9%.
That's the APR, isn't it?
That's the APR.
So that compares to I don't know. There's a bunch of like payday loans that.
Payday loans can exceed 1,000%. They have been capped now, but they're still very high.
Okay.
One thing you'll find is sometimes they advertise their rates sort of weekly repayments, which sound affordable, but when you look at a lower
how much it adds up, it's expensive, isn't it? Charlotte, that was really good, wasn't it?
It was amazing!
I loved chatting to Kuldip. We've got part 2 of his interview where he answers the questions of the podcast next week. But in the meantime, should we get on with the end of the show?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Tis the end! Tis the end.
Oh, is it the end?
Not really.
Not really. It's not really the end. Because we've got.
Never the end.
It's never the end because we've got last week's question of the podcast this week.
Last week.
Answered last week. And last week's question of the podcast was, what's your guilty pleasure? What is your guilty pleasure? And we had a wide range of answers. A lot of food and music related answers, but some clothes in there as well.
You've gone too far up again.
So the questions of the podcast, what's your guilty pleasure? So the guilty pleasure, let's start with at Impossible Elf on Twitter, who said no pleasure should ever be something to feel guilty about unless you enjoy murder. So it went a bit dark all of a sudden, didn't it?
Should I feel guilty about the murder?
All right, maybe. Dennis Hall said he feels guilty about listening to podcasts ever. All right, Dennis, you're not a fan.
Listening to podcasts ever.
Esteem Money at Esteem Money on Twitter said jelly belly beans. I love a good jelly belly bean.
A jelly belly bean? I thought it was just a jelly bean.
No, you can get jelly belly beans. I think they're from M&S, but yeah, they're good. Charlie Goodman, good old Charlie, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Said Pret a Manger chocolate chunk cookies he likes, so that's all good. Jeannie Boyle, absolute classic. She's a friend of the show, by the way. Her guilty pleasure is power ballads. Now, I love a good 80s power ballad, don't you?
I don't understand what you're on about.
Like a sort of really like belter slow song, like a Celine Dion or a Barbara Streisand or somebody like that. like somebody who's just really like sort of rocking the power ballads. Damien Cliburn clearly eats all his kids' chocolates because Damien Cliburn's guilty pleasure is eating all the kids' sweets after they've gone to bed. So I've just got this image of Damien buying a Easter egg, and suddenly the kids wake up in the morning and it's gone.
The bunny must have eaten it.
Keith Arnold said Strictly. He loves a bit of Strictly Come Dancing. I'm liking a bit of Dancing on Ice at the minute, to be honest. I don't know if I'd call it a guilty pleasure, but it is a...
You know what else I'm liking?
What?
Greatest Dancer.
So do I. I like The Greatest Dancer. I don't know if I feel that guilty about watching it, though, to be honest.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Keith, don't feel guilty about watching Strictly. Whatever floats your boat, mate, is entirely up to you. Victor Sachs said Skippy Super Chuck Peanut Butter. Now, I don't know what that is.
No.
Skippy, is that made of kangaroos? Is that why I was feeling guilty about it? I don't know. Russell Daems, friend of the show and our esteemed editor, said he likes The Only Way is Essex. Lol. Joke. I don't really have any guilty pleasures. I sometimes watch Don't Tell the Bride. Russ, that counts as a guilty pleasure, mate.
Oh, no, you should never be guilty of watching Don't
definitely
Tell
a
the
guilty
Bride.
pleasure.
Don't Tell the
Definitely.
Bride is a good show.
What's so good about Don't Tell the Bride?
The antics the fiance gets up to.
Don't tell your dad you watch Don't Tell the Bride. That's what I'm saying.
I used to watch Don't Tell the Bride when I was 10.
Did you?
That was my good pastime if the Great British Bake Off wasn't on Tuesdays.
So is Don't Tell the Bride a good Great British Bake Off replacement?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Especially if you watch 3 episodes consecutively.
Yeah. Maybe we should have a conversation about your TV consumption. Alistair McCann said, pleasures should never be guilty, ever, otherwise they wouldn't be pleasurable. And I think that's an absolutely fair point. Lauren Sweeney disagrees and went, Celine Dion. Celine Dion! You know what I like? You know, that wasn't a very good Celine Dion impression, was it? You know, the best example of Celine Dion? Muppets 2. Where she sings a song with Miss Piggy.
Oh my God,
I can't remember the name of the song, but her cameo appearance in Muppets 2 is almost
and
as good.
they're singing about how she's got something she wants, but now she's not sure if it's what she actually wants.
It was almost as good as the prisoners in the Gulag.
Oh my God, singing to chorus line.
That was really good. Jody said Horatio from CSI Miami. Dan forever takes the mick out of me for that one. Debbie Davidson likes leg warmers. Who doesn't like leg warmers? I've got a pair of them right now.
Ooh.
I haven't. I've just got some Kindness Project sponsored pants.
I haven't done that yet.
And John Cook said, there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure, following the theme. If you like something and it's legal, who cares what pretentious critics and the rest of the world deems to be cool? And I'd agree, John. And then he said, apart from Hollyoaks, which is apparently his guilty pleasure.
So what if it's not legal?
If it's unlegal, it's definitely a guilty pleasure. Doug Bennett didn't even bother putting any words. He just took a photo of a bag of Rebels and posted it on my timeline. And Nicola Taylor said, Earth, Wind and Fire, that's groove. Richard Ellis loves a bit of scotch. Hi Kelly, how are you? Richard Ellis loves a bit of scotch. And Rob Stevenson said molten brown bath salts. I've never heard them, have you?
Should buy some MB stock as a hedge, really.
And a lamb loves ice cream. I don't think ice cream counts as a guilty pleasure.
You can't count that as a guilty pleasure. Like, guilty pleasures are stuff like murder.
Why are you going back to murder as a guilty pleasure? Can't we have a level that's better than murder as a guilty pleasure? Injury. GBH. I don't know.
Just like, oh!
Anyway, thank you for listening to the Kindness Project, where we tend to end every episode on a relatively dark note.
And a bit of shambolic nonsense.
And a bit of shambolic nonsense. Thanks for tuning in once more. Thank you to our Facebook livers. Thank you to everybody listening on iTunes and Spotify and on the website. And on that particular note, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.